The market was loud, filled with smoke, strange lights, and the cries of creatures locked in cages. Merchants shouted prices, aliens bargained, and guards laughed cruelly. Somewhere in the middle row, inside the smallest cage, sat a trembling girl. She was not taller than a child. Her thin body looked too fragile. Her silver eyes glowed faintly in the dark. She hugged her knees close and shook with fear. She was a mini alien, one of the smallest races in the galaxy. Most people ignored her. Some laughed at her. Others said she was too small to be useful. But she had heard whispers about humans. Careful, one alien merchant sneered to a customer. Humans buy small ones for meat. They eat them whole, especially the tiny ones. The words stabbed her heart. She lowered her head and tried not to cry. Then through the crowd she saw him, a tall figure walking with heavy boots. His armor scratched and burned. A scar cut across his cheek. His eyes were sharp but quiet. He was a human marine. Everyone stepped back as he passed. Humans were feared. Their strength was unmatched. Their hunger, mysterious. The girl's breath caught in her throat. Her heart raced. He stopped near her cage. His shadow covered her completely. For a moment she thought the end had come. This was the predator, and she was the prey. The merchant grinned. "Ah, human, you have good eyes. This one? Tiny but fresh. Frightened meat is tender meat. They say your kind loves it." The girl pressed herself into the corner, her silver eyes wide. She wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The human said nothing. He only stared at her for a long moment, his face unreadable. Then he pulled out a small bag of coins and dropped it on the table. The cage was unlocked. The door creaked open. The girl's hands shook. She wanted to run, but her legs felt frozen. The merchant shoved her forward. "Go on, little rat. Your new master will eat you quick." But instead of grabbing her like a beast, the human bent down slowly. His voice was low, almost gentle. "Can you walk?" She blinked in confusion. She didn't answer. Her throat was too dry. He sighed and simply lifted her up, his arms strong but careful. She gasped and closed her eyes tight, waiting for teeth to sink into her skin. Yet nothing happened. He carried her through the market, past staring eyes, past mocking laughter. The girl's heart pounded. She could hear the voices. "Look at that fool, carrying food like a pet. He'll roast her before the sun's rise. Humans are monsters." Her tears finally fell. She buried her face in his chest, trembling. She didn't want to die, not like this. But as they walked further, she noticed something. His grip was firm but not cruel. His chest was warm, steady. She peeked up at his face. He wasn't smiling, he wasn't drooling with hunger. His eyes were forward, sharp and cold, like a soldier on duty. They reached the gates of the market. The guards gave them one last laugh. "Enjoy your meal, human." The man stopped, turned his head slightly and gave a look so deadly that even the guards fell silent. Then he kept walking. Outside the market, the night air was cold. The stars above stretched wide. The girl had never seen so much space beyond the cages. For the first time she breathed freely, but fear still tied her chest in knots. The human set her down near a quiet corner of the road. He crouched to meet her eyes. She shook her head, whispering in a broken voice, "Please, don't eat me." For the first time his expression changed. His brow softened, his eyes lowered with something heavy. Sadness, maybe. He shook his head. "I'm not here to eat you." She didn't understand. Her kind believed humans were devourers, predators that saw small aliens as meat. Yet here was one refusing to harm her. He stood up again, pulled his cloak from his bag and wrapped it around her shaking body. His voice was rough but steady. "You're safe now." Her lips parted, her mind spun in circles. Safe? With a human? Could such a thing be true? But before she could think more, he lifted her again, walking into the dark road ahead. She clutched the cloak tight, still trembling, still unsure. She didn't know what fate awaited her, but one thing was certain. This human was not like the stories, and in her heart a question burned brighter than fear. If he wasn't going to devour her, what did he really want? The night stretched endlessly, the stars above burning like cold fire. The human walked with steady steps, carrying the tiny alien girl wrapped in his cloak. She lay quiet in his arms, too afraid to move. Her mind still echoed with the merchant's words. Humans eat the small ones. Every heartbeat inside her chest felt like a drum of fear. She tried to keep her eyes closed, pretending she was not real, pretending she would wake from this nightmare. But the steady thump of his heart against her cheek told her it was no dream. She was truly in the arms of a human. After some time, he set her down on a flat stone near the road. His bag dropped beside him. He pulled out a piece of bread, old and rough. He broke it in half and placed a piece gently in front of her. "Eat," he said simply. Her eyes widened. Her stomach growled with hunger, but her hands shook. She pushed the bread back toward him. "No. If I eat, you will," she whispered, unable to finish the sentence. His brows lowered. His scarred face looked colder in the starlight. "You think I bought you for meat?" She shivered, hugging the cloak tighter. "All say humans. Devour us." He did not answer. At first, instead, he tore his own piece and bit into it slowly, chewing in silence. His gaze was fixed on the stars, not on her. The fire in his eyes was not hunger, but something heavier, something distant. The girl sat frozen, confused. The smell of bread reached her, warm and dry. Her empty stomach twisted painfully. She wanted to eat, but fear tied her down. He glanced at her and placed the bread closer again. "Eat, little one. Hunger will kill you before I do." His tone was rough, but not cruel. Her silver eyes filled with tears. Slowly, she lifted the bread. Her hands shook so much that pieces fell. She took one tiny bite, waiting for him to laugh, waiting for his teeth to come. But nothing happened. He only watched the night sky, his face unreadable. The bread filled her mouth. She chewed carefully. It was dry, but to her it tasted like life. Her tears rolled down faster. She ate more, almost choking. The human gave a faint sigh, then rose to his feet. He turned his head sharply, his hand moving to the blade at his side. The girl froze. Her silver eyes darted to the shadows. Something moved among the rocks. The sound of gravel crunching under boots echoed. 3 figures stepped out. Alien thugs with blades and cruel smiles. "Marine," one of them growled. "You think you can walk here safe? That tiny rat belongs to us." The girl gasped, her whole body shaking. They were the ones who had laughed at her cage. The human did not move back. He stood in front of her like a wall of iron. His voice dropped low, steady as stone. "She is not yours anymore," the aliens laughed. Their weapons glimmered under the moon. "Not yours either, human. Hand her over and maybe we won't cut you in pieces." The girl's heart pounded. She curled into herself, whispering, "No, no. He will fight and then eat me after." Her fear doubled. She could not decide who was worse, the thugs or the human. The first alien charged, his blade flashing. The human moved like lightning. His sword came free with a hiss. Sparks burst as steel met alien iron. With one swing, the thug fell back, blood spilling into the dust. The second rushed forward, but the Marine's fist smashed into his jaw. A crack echoed. The alien dropped to the ground, groaning. The last one hesitated, seeing the fire in the human's eyes. He spat on the ground and ran into the darkness, vanishing like a coward. Silence fell again. The girl's small body trembled harder. She had never seen such violence, never seen anyone fight for her. The human turned, his sleeve torn, blood dripping from his arm. He knelt and checked the cloak around her. His voice was softer this time. "You're safe." Her silver eyes widened. She stared at the red stain spreading across his skin. It was his blood, not hers. He had taken the wound for her. She could not understand. If he wanted her for food, why protect her? Why bleed for her? Her voice was a whisper, fragile as glass. Why do you not hurt me?" He looked at her for a long moment, then wrapped the wound in cloth. His reply came low, almost like a promise. Because you've already been hurt enough. Her heart stuttered. Tears blurred her vision. For the first time since she was taken from her home, she felt something new, something strange. It was not safety, not yet, but it was close. Hope. The road ahead stretched into the dark hills, and she followed behind him now, still afraid, but no longer sure of the stories she had believed. If he was not her devourer, then who was he? The hills stretched for miles, silent except for the crunch of boots and the faint rustle of wind. The human walked ahead, his wounded arm wrapped tightly in cloth. The tiny alien girl followed, clutching the cloak around her small body. She kept, her eyes on the ground. Every time she looked at him, her chest tightened with confusion. Why did he bleed for her? Why did he not devour her? The stories her people told made no sense now. Night fell deeper. The air grew colder. The stars above shimmered brighter than she had ever seen. She had always lived inside cages, dark and dirty. She had never truly seen the sky. Now the galaxy stretched above her like endless glass. The human stopped near a fallen tree. He dropped his bag and gathered wood without a word. Soon a fire crackled to life, sparks dancing into the night. Its glow painted his face in red and gold. His scar looked sharper, his eyes like steel. The girl sat across from him, hugging her knees. Her silver eyes darted to the flames, then back. To him, when he pulled out food from his bag, dried meat and another piece of bread, her heart pounded. She thought, now he will show his true hunger. He tore a strip of meat and roasted it over the fire. The smell filled the air, sharp and smoky. Her stomach growled. She clenched her teeth, embarrassed. The human looked at her but said nothing. He chewed slowly, then placed another piece on a flat stone near her. He didn't push, didn't force, just let it sit there. Her hands shook. She whispered, If I eat, you will eat me too." His brow lowered, but his voice was steady. "Eat because you need strength, nothing more." She hesitated for long moments. Finally, hunger defeated fear. She crawled closer, grabbed the piece, and took a bite. The taste was strange, smoky but good. Tears slipped from her eyes, her body betrayed her. She ate quickly. The human's gaze softened for a moment, but then he turned his eyes back to the flames. His silence was heavy, like he carried a mountain. Inside him, the girl wanted to ask, wanted to understand, but words felt too heavy. She only whispered, "Why?" His eyes flicked to her. His scar caught the firelight. He didn't answer. Instead, he tossed more wood into the flames. The crackle filled the silence. Then the night changed. From the forest came a sound. Low, rumbling, unnatural. The girl froze. Her silver eyes widened. Her instinct screamed danger. The human was already on his feet, his hand gripping the hilt of his blade. His eyes scanned the darkness. Branches snapped, shadows shifted. Something large moved beyond the light of the fire. The ground trembled faintly with each step. The girl's tiny body shook. "Well, what is it?" she whispered. The human's jaw tightened. "Not good." The firelight caught a glimpse. A beast stepped forward. Its body was covered in dark scales, claws long as blades, eyes glowing yellow. Its mouth dripped with saliva. A predator of the wilds, hungry and furious, the girl whimpered and hid behind the human. Pressing herself into the earth, her heart screamed, "First the human, now the beast, I will die either way." The beast roared, the sound shaking the air. Birds fled from the trees. The ground shook under its claws. The human stood firm. His sword gleamed as he drew it slowly. His voice was calm, almost too calm. "Stay behind me." The girl shook her head. "You will die." "You will." He cut her off with one look, sharp and burning. "Stay." The beast charged. Firelight flashed across its scales. The human moved, fast and precise. His blade clashed against the beast's claw. Sparks exploded. The impact shook the air. The girl screamed, curling tighter. Her eyes squeezed shut. She heard the clash of steel, the roar of the beast, the grunt of the human. Every sound was chaos. When she dared to peek, she saw blood, dark, thick blood dripping onto the ground. But it was the beast's, not his. The marine's blade had sliced across its leg. The monster roared louder, furious. The human fought like a storm, every strike sharp, every step steady. His injured arm slowed him, but he didn't stop. His face was carved in determination. He was not protecting himself. He was protecting her. The beast lunged again, its jaws wide. The human rolled aside, grabbed a burning log from the fire, and shoved it into the beast's face. Flames licked its scales, it screamed, thrashing wildly. Seizing the moment, the Marine drove his sword deep into its chest. The beast roared one last time before collapsing with a ground-shaking thud. The fire crackled, smoke rising from the creature's body. Silence returned. The human pulled his blade free, his chest heaving, his arm bled again, but he stood tall. His eyes swept to the girl, checking her first. She was frozen, her tiny hands pressed to her mouth. She could not breathe, could not think. She had seen death before in the cages, but never like this. Never for her sake. The human stepped closer, wiping blood from his blade. His voice was softer now. "It's over." Her silver eyes filled with tears, she whispered, Why do you protect me? You could have left me. You could have let the beast." His eyes met hers, dark and steady. "Because you are mine to protect, not to harm." The words crashed into her heart, breaking everything she thought she knew. She stared at him, her fear shifting into something new, something unknown. She had once believed humans only devoured. But tonight, under fire and shadow, she saw something else. A shield, not a predator, and though fear still gripped her, a small seed of trust began to grow in her trembling heart. The dead beast lay across the ground, its scales cracked, blood steaming under the cold night air. The fire burned lower now, its glow flickering weakly. The human stood with his blade dripping, chest rising and falling heavily. The tiny alien girl sat curled against the tree, her body trembling like a leaf in storm winds. Her silver eyes stared at him with disbelief. She could not speak. Not after what she had just seen. He had fought like a storm, a force of steel and fire. His wounds were real, his blood was real, yet he never stepped away from her, not once. He had placed himself between her and the monster every time. He walked back toward the fire, dragging the beast's heavy body further into the shadows. He did not want the smell to bring more predators. Then he sat heavily on the ground, breathing hard. His scarred face was sharp in the firelight, his eyes burning with silent strength. The girl dared to move closer. She was still afraid. But something inside her was shifting. She whispered, "Why? Why protect me?" His gaze flicked to her, steady and unreadable. "Because you needed it." Her lips parted, her mind spun. That was not the answer she expected. No human she had ever heard about acted this way. The wind blew cold, carrying distant cries of night creatures. The girl shivered, wrapping his cloak tighter around her small frame. The human pulled out a small kit from his bag. He tore open cloth, poured liquid on his arm wound, and grunted softly. The smell of medicine filled the air. The girl winced, feeling his pain as if it cut her own skin. Without thinking, she crawled closer. Her hands shook as she whispered, Let me help." He looked at her surprised, but then he handed her the bandage, his voice quiet. "Wrap it tight." Her tiny fingers fumbled, but she tried. She pressed the cloth around his arm, her hands brushing his rough skin. Every second felt strange. She had never touched a human before, never believed she would live long enough to. When she finished, he gave a short nod. Good. Her chest filled with warmth she didn't understand. A human, a feared devourer, had trusted her with his wound. But before the strange moment could settle, the night shifted again. The ground rumbled faintly. The fire flickered under a sudden gust of wind. From the dark forest came another sound, deeper, heavier than the first beast. The human's head snapped up. His hand gripped his sword instantly. His eyes sharpened. The girl froze, her heart slamming. No! Another. A low growl rolled through the trees. Shadows shifted. Yellow eyes glowed from the dark, but this time more than one. 2, 3, maybe 4. Circling, waiting. Her breath hitched. She crawled backward, whispering, "We will die. They will eat us alive. The human rose slowly, his body tense. He stood tall, blade ready, his voice calm but strong. Stay behind me. The girl wanted to run, to hide, but her legs would not move. She clutched the cloak tighter, whispering to herself, humans are monsters. But why do monsters protect? The first of the new beasts lunged from the dark, snapping jaws wide. The human swung his blade in a clean arc. Sparks flew as steel struck scale. The beast recoiled with a roar. Another came from the side, claws slashing. He turned, blocked, and kicked it back into the trees. His movements were sharp, but his wounded arm slowed him. Blood stained his sleeve again. The girl watched in horror. She realized something. He could not fight all of them alone. His body was strong, but not endless. He was only one. Her heart pounded. For the first time, her fear of him cracked. For the first time, she wanted him to survive. She grabbed a burning stick from the fire. Her tiny hands shook. She screamed and waved it at a beast creeping too close. The flame startled it, sending it back a step. The human glanced at her, surprised, but he gave a faint nod. Good. Keep the fire near. Her chest swelled. She had helped, even if only a little. The battle raged. Steel clashed. Roars shook the air. Sparks of fire flew in all directions. The human fought like thunder. The girl shouted with fear, swinging her torch wildly whenever shadows drew close. At last, after long, painful minutes, the beasts pulled back, snarling into the dark. Their yellow eyes glowed for a moment longer, then vanished into the trees. The night fell silent again, only the crackle of fire remaining. The human lowered his blade, his breath ragged, sweat dripped from his scarred face. He sat heavily on the ground, his body shaking with exhaustion. The girl crawled closer. Her tiny hands touched his shoulder. You are hurt again? He gave a small laugh, rough and tired. Better me than you. Her throat tightened. Her eyes burned with tears. She shook her head, whispering, I was wrong. Humans are not devourers. Not you. For the first time, his face softened fully. His eyes met hers, calm and warm. You'll learn, little one. Not everything in the galaxy is what it seems. Her silver eyes shone in the firelight. Fear still lived in her. But now something else lived beside it. Something fragile. Something new. Trust. She sat near him, clutching the cloak, watching the fire as it fought against the night. The beasts might return. The road ahead might hold worse dangers. But for the first time since her capture, she did not feel alone. The human was still a mystery, but he was her shield. And in the dark of the night, she began to believe that maybe, just maybe, he would never let her be devoured, not by monsters, not by anyone. The road wound higher into the hills, the path thinner, rocks loose underfoot. The tiny alien girl walked close behind the human, her small steps almost silent. Every time she glanced up, she saw his back broad and steady, his sword strapped and ready. The night's battle with the beasts still lived in her mind. Her heart beat faster when she remembered the way he fought, the way he shielded her. She had feared him, once believed he would devour her, but now every step told her something new. This human was no predator. He was something else, something she could not yet name. The sun rose pale across the horizon, painting the sky with soft gold. Birds cried from far trees. The cold air stung her cheeks, but what stopped her steps was the sight ahead, a broken bridge stretched across a roaring canyon. The gap was wide, the river below foaming like hungry jaws. Half the wooden planks were missing. The ropes creaked in the wind. Her silver eyes widened in horror. We cannot cross," she whispered, clutching the cloak tighter. The human studied the bridge, his jaw tense. His scar caught the sunlight, making him look even harsher, but his voice was calm. "We cross, or we turn back to worse." Her stomach twisted. She shook her head. "If we fall, we die." He turned to her, kneeling to meet her eyes. His gaze was firm but not cruel. "Trust me." Her lips trembled. The word itself felt impossible. How could she trust the one her people feared most? Yet, hadn't he bled for her, fought for her, shared his food? He stood again, stepping onto the first plank. It groaned under his weight but held. He tested each step slowly, carefully. The bridge swayed with the wind. The sound of the rushing river echoed like thunder below. He turned back, extending a hand. "Come." Her heart pounded so hard she thought it would break her ribs. She shook her head. I am too small, the wind will take me." His eyes narrowed slightly. Then, without waiting, he stepped back, knelt again, and lifted her onto his shoulders. "Hold on," he ordered. She gasped, her tiny hands gripping his armor. No, if you fall, I will." "Hold on," he repeated. "Steady." The bridge groaned as he stepped forward again. His boots pressed against fragile planks. Some cracked, others shook loose. The ropes swayed dangerously. The girl buried her face in his. Her body shaking, the drop below called to her, the water roaring like a beast ready to devour them both. But the human steps never faltered. Each movement was measured. His hands gripped the ropes tightly, his voice low. "Do not look down. Just hold to me." Her eyes squeezed shut. Her small fingers dug into his armor. Every step felt like the end. Every creak of wood screamed death. Halfway across, the wind grew stronger. The bridge swayed wildly. A plank snapped. Falling into the canyon with a crash, the girl screamed, her body trembling. The human held firm, his muscles straining. He pressed forward, step by step, his scarred face hard as stone. Finally, with a final push, he stepped onto solid ground. The bridge creaked one last time before settling. The girl gasped for air, her tiny body still trembling. Slowly, she loosened her grip. Her silver eyes opened wide, staring back at the deadly gap they had crossed. He knelt, letting her slide off, his shoulders, his voice calm but softer than before. "See, you lived." Her lips parted. Tears filled her eyes. "Because of you," she whispered. For the first time, she looked at him, not with fear, but with something closer to wonder. He was not a monster, not a devourer. He was her bridge, her only. Way across the endless dark, the human gave a faint sigh, turning his eyes to the horizon. "The road ahead is longer still. Trust will keep you alive, little one." Her heart tightened. She clutched the cloak around her and whispered, almost to herself, "Then I will trust." The moment hung between them, fragile as glass, yet it was real. The girl walked beside him now, not behind. Her steps still small, still uncertain, but closer than before. They climbed further, the hills opening into a wide plain. The sun shone brighter, chasing away the cold. But inside her, warmth grew stronger. She had thought humans were monsters, predators that devoured without mercy. But on that broken bridge, she learned a different truth. Sometimes the scariest beings were the ones who carried you to safety. And as they walked on, she realized that every step she took beside him was not just a path forward. It was a path into trust, a bridge between fear and hope. The plain stretched wide under the fading sun. Grass swayed in the cold wind. The human walked with steady steps, the tiny alien girl close by his side. The bridge was behind them now, but its memory stayed strong in her heart. She had held on to him, trusted him, and he had carried her across death itself. Still, questions burned inside her. Her silver eyes flicked up at him, his scar catching the golden light. His silence was heavy, his eyes always scanning the horizon like a soldier always waiting for war. At last she whispered, "Why? Why do you not harm me? Why save me again and again?" He didn't look at her. His jaw tightened, his boots crunched on the dirt road. For a long time he gave no answer. Her small hands curled into fists. Her voice broke softly. "You could have left me in the cage. You could have sold me. You could have eaten me. But you didn't. I need to know why." The human stopped. The wind tugged at his cloak. He looked out at the horizon where the sun dipped into fire-red clouds. His voice came low, rough like gravel. "Because I failed once." The girl blinked. Confused. Failed. He turned his head slightly. His eyes were dark, filled with shadows of old memories. "There was someone, small like you, helpless. I swore to protect them, but I was too late." Her breath caught. She stared at him. "What happened?" His hand tightened around the hilt of his sword. His scar seemed deeper under the dying light. War happened. My squad was ambushed. I fought, but the child was taken. I searched for days. When I found them, it was too late. His voice cracked slightly at the last word. His silence after was heavier than steel. The tiny girl's chest tightened. Her heart ached in ways she didn't understand. This human, who the galaxy called a predator, carried a wound deeper than flesh, she whispered. So, you protect me because of them? His eyes met hers, his gaze sharp but soft at the same time. I protect you because no one should feel that fear. Not again. Not while I still breathe. Her lips trembled. Her eyes filled with tears. She hugged herself tightly, whispering, I thought humans were only devourers. I thought you bought me to hurt me, but you are hurting inside too. He gave no reply, only turned and kept walking. His silence said more than words. For a long while they walked without speaking. The sky turned dark. Stars returned. The wind grew colder. At last, he stopped at a small rise where ruined stone walls stood, the remains of an old outpost. He set his bag down and began to gather wood again. His movements automatic, practiced like a man who had done this 1,000 times. The girl sat near, watching him. Something new stirred inside her, not just trust, but a strange ache. She wanted to ease the weight he carried, but she was so small, so weak. What could she give? When the fire burned, the human handed her another piece of bread. This time she did not hesitate. She ate quietly, her silver eyes never leaving him. After a while she whispered, "Teach me." He looked at her, puzzled. "Teach you what?" Her voice trembled, but her eyes shone with new resolve. "To fight, to be strong. I don't want to hide behind you forever. I want to help." For the first time, his lips curved. Not quite a smile, but close. "You're small, little one." She lifted her chin. "Small, but fast." He studied her for a long moment, then gave a faint nod. "Very well. I'll teach you. But remember, strength is not just in the arm. It is here." He tapped his chest, over his heart. Her breath caught. She nodded quickly. "I will learn." So, under the starlight, he showed her simple things. How to hold a stick like a weapon, how to move her feet, how to watch her enemy's eyes. Her tiny body stumbled, but her spirit did not. Every mistake, she tried again. Every fall she stood, the human corrected her gently, never harsh, his voice calm, his patience deep. At one point she tripped and fell hard. She hissed in pain, her silver eyes filled with tears. He knelt and helped her up, his voice steady. "No warrior rises without falling. You stood again. That is strength." Her tears turned into a small smile. For the first time she felt proud. Later, when she finally curled near the fire, exhaustion heavy in her small body, she whispered, "Thank you for seeing me. Not as food, not as nothing, but as someone." The human sat beside the flames, silent, his eyes on the stars, his scar glinting faintly, but for the first time his expression softened fully, and though he didn't answer, his silence was no longer heavy. It was a silence of peace. The girl drifted into sleep, her tiny body warm under his cloak, her heart lighter, her fear smaller. The truth was revealed. He was not her devourer, not her captor. He was her protector, her teacher, her bridge to a life she had never dreamed possible. And in the quiet of the night, with the fire crackling and the stars watching, the bond between human and alien grew stronger than chains, stronger than fear. It became something unbreakable. The night passed quietly, but the dawn did not bring peace. The human woke early, sharpening his blade. His eyes scanned the horizon. His body tense, the tiny alien girl stirred under the cloak, her silver eyes fluttered open. She rubbed them and sat up. Her small voice whispered, "Are we safe?" The human shook his head. His scar caught the morning light. Safe never lasts long. And he was right. By noon, dust rose on the horizon. Hooves and engines roared. Shadows grew larger. The girl's heart sank when she saw them. Slavers. armored and armed, the same ones from the market, only now more. Her body shook. She clutched the cloak tight. They came for me," she whispered. The human's hand tightened on his sword, his voice low. "They came for both of us." The slavers surrounded them, cruel laughter filling the air. Their leader, tall and scarred, sneered, "You took our property, human. A tiny rat is not worth your life. Hand her over, we might let you crawl away." The girl's chest burned with fear. She grabbed the human's arm. "Don't fight them, please, they will kill you." But the Marine's eyes burned cold. He stepped forward, sword gleaming. "You'll have to try." The slavers attacked. Steel clashed with steel. The air shook with shouts. The human fought. Like fire, his blade cutting through enemies, his body moving with deadly precision. But there were too many. His wounds slowed him. Blood stained his armor. His breath grew heavier. The girl's heart twisted. She screamed, "Stop! Stop!" But no one listened. In that moment, something inside her broke. Fear no longer ruled her. She grabbed a stone from the ground, small in her hands but heavy in spirit. She struck a slaver's knee as he charged the human. The man fell, with a shout, giving the Marine a chance to strike him down. The human glanced at her, shock in his eyes, but she stood firm, her tiny frame trembling but her silver eyes blazing. "I will not hide anymore," she shouted. The battle raged on. The girl darted like a shadow, throwing stones, waving fire from the camp, distracting slavers. Every second she bought gave the human another strike, another breath. At last, the Yai leader stepped forward, his massive blade rose high. "Enough. One human cannot stop us." The girl screamed, "No!" and ran forward. She threw herself between the leader and the Marine, her tiny arms spread wide, her silver eyes burning. The slaver laughed cruelly. "Pathetic. You think your small body will shield him?" The human's roar cut through the air. He surged forward with all his strength. His blade clashed with the leader's in a storm of sparks. The force shook the ground. The duel was fierce, each strike heavier than the last. The Marine's body bled, but his will did not break. The leader sneered, "Why risk your life for a useless creature?" The human's eyes burned like fire. His voice thundered, "Because she is not useless, she is alive, and no one will take her from me." With a final strike, his sword cut through the leader's guard. The slaver fell, silence following his collapse. The others froze, their courage broken. Slowly they backed away, then fled into the dust. The plain was quiet again. Only the sound of the river far below echoed. The human dropped to one knee, his chest heaving, his body bleeding from many cuts. The girl ran to him, tears streaming down her face. "You are hurt. You are hurt because of me." He shook his head, gripping her tiny hand, his voice weak but steady. "No, little one, I bleed because I chose to stand. Not because of you. Never because of you." Her tears fell harder. She pressed her forehead against his chest, whispering, "I thought you would devour me. I thought you were a monster, but you gave me life." His rough hand rested gently on her head. "And you gave me purpose again." The wind blew softly, carrying the ashes of battle away. For the first time, the girl felt no cage, no chains, no fear, only warmth, only belonging. The unexpected turn was clear. She had not been devoured. She had been saved. She had not lost herself. She had found someone who saw her not as meat, not as property, but as a person. The galaxy would still call him a monster, but to her he was a protector, a teacher, a bridge to hope. And as they walked away from the battlefield together, side by side, her tiny hand in his scarred one, she knew the truth. The universe had feared humans, but to her humanity meant something different. Not hunger, not cruelty, but kindness, strong enough to fight the dark,